Okay, I know you're not supposed to put up long videos on YouTube, but this is kind of like an intro before the actual video because I shot this whole thing and it had everything in there that I wanted to say, but I had no idea that it would end up being close to an hour. But I don't want to break it up. I want it to be exactly as I shot it because everything in there is what I wanted to say. Hopefully you'll get a lot out of it. I know it's probably going to screw up the algorithm for this particular video, maybe my channel or whatever, who knows, but I don't care because I want this to go out the way I shot it because it has a lot of stuff in there that I hope will help you if you are looking to change your beliefs. So without further ado, let's get into this long behemoth of a video. So change your limited beliefs with meditation. And that's what this is about today. And this is kind of like the main centerpiece almost of this entire belief series that I'm in the process of doing right now. Now, the next week's episode on how to figure out self-love is actually the most important one of the whole series, but this one is the core of it, and this is about what I use every morning to change my limiting beliefs, and that's using meditation. So what we're going to do in today's episode is I'm going to go over the book and introduce you to the book that I first discovered this method with, and it's a great book, number one. It takes you through how to really learn to meditate, specifically to change those beliefs into what you want them. And then the second part is going to be when I actually tell you about what my process is. And I'll be pretty detailed with it. Hopefully this doesn't run too long, but I want to be able to really cover everything within there. So hopefully give you the tools to be able to begin the process yourself. And if you haven't been here before, I'm Michael Kowal, and welcome to my channel. And I kind of consider myself like a cheerleader for exploring everything inside of ourselves, like our souls, our spirit, our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, because that's truly where the process of creating the life that we want begins. You get everything straightened out inside, and everything on the outside takes care of itself. So come on along with this if you want. I put out new videos every week on all of that to get us to really be able to change our lives from the inside. It's the best way to do it. So anyways, let's get on with this for changing limiting beliefs with meditation. So before we get into the book, I want to do just a quick disclaimer kind of a thing. I kind of think I don't need to say this, but maybe I need to say it just to make sure, is that anytime you're going to do any meditation, anytime you're going to do any self-hypnosis, you do not want to be doing that while operating a car, while driving, while operating machinery, or doing any other damn thing where you could potentially harm yourself or anyone else. What we're doing here with meditation and self-hypnosis is getting underneath the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is the one who kind of tends to keep track of us and make sure we're safe. Without that, it's not really good to be driving a car. So I recommend highly that you stick to one of two places to do it, either sitting down on your backside or laying down. You can sit on a chair, you can sit on the ground, on the floor, whatever you want. But this is your time that you're using to really truly create the person that you want to be, to really unleash the true you that's inside. So don't mess it up by doing anything like those other things, right? Be smart, do the right thing. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. Now on to the book. And the book is awesome. And I think the whole rest of this video is going to be awesome because it really gets into how you can change your life, how I've begun changing my life. So the book is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I really can't recommend this book enough because it has changed my life. Let's take a look at the title, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Now, the thing that he gets into, which is fantastic, is that we kind of have an idea of who we are, even if we don't realize we have that idea of who we are. And what this book and what the process of using meditation to change your limiting beliefs is the process of breaking what you used to be. Because we all have thoughts inside of our head. We all have the limited beliefs. We all have traumas and mini traumas and maybe big ones from as we were children or growing up or whatever. And those tend to get locked in place within us. And you probably aren't here watching this video if you don't already know that. And you're in the process, just like me, of breaking that. And this book gets into that. Now, what he does really nicely is the whole first part of the book is more like information, kind of like the hows and whys of why we have these original beliefs of ourselves that we have to break open and break the habit of it. Because what is a habit? A habit is just something that you continue on, right? Almost mindlessly. You no longer make a conscious choice whether to do it or something else. And that's what's happened with us. As I've talked about in this whole belief series and in other videos, we have so many things that have happened throughout our childhoods and everything else, and the beliefs that we come to believe about ourselves. And they're just habits. And so they become ingrained until they're just all a big ball of that. Now, what he does is in the beginning section with the information is he kind of gives you the background exactly why that is, physiologically and also scientifically. And really, it's a matter of your brain chemistry. It's a matter of the neurons up there. If you've ever heard the term, what gets fired together is wired together, meaning that the more often you keep repeating the same thoughts, which is firing those same thoughts, the electrical impulses are going through our brains. And in that process, they get wired together, the neurons and all of those things, so that it becomes a really tight thing in there, almost like tree trunks, if you will. And this is about the process of breaking those bonds and creating new ones with the new beliefs that we want to create. And we do that here in this process within meditation. So he gets into quantum physics, he gets into the brain and the brain chemistry, he introduces you to a lot of scans that he has done in his workshops, etc. And it's a great background on all of that. And it truly does help you understand and also help you kind of get excited and to know why you're doing the processes that you're going to be doing in the meditation to break those. And in essence, what you're doing is you're just building new neural pathways in your head. You're deciding which beliefs you want now inside of your head. And you keep repeating those with feeling until they become the new focus of your life. And that's all it is. And it's fantastic. Now, the second half of the book is about the process of it. And he takes you through, it's a very detailed, if you've ever wanted to understand how to meditate, specifically for this intent, this book really takes you through. And he takes you through in a number of different sections. And the first section is Induction. So you'll work on that for a while. You'll also, I think before that, you'll also work on what your current beliefs are and what are the beliefs that you want. And he breaks it down so that each week you're focusing in on a different section of that. And in the end, he will take you through all of those steps, and he will either have you can either record your own meditation that you want to listen to, or you can, I think, purchase one. The one that I got at the time was $6 that went along with the book, and I highly recommend that. So the whole process through this is walking you through exactly the steps that he recommends in order to do it. And I also recommend doing this because it's a great, thorough introduction. Now, in a few seconds here, I'll get into actually what I do, and these are some things that I've learned throughout the process of doing this for the past nearly 3 years, or pretty much 3 years now, that I do this every morning. So I'll kind of give you maybe a little bit better idea of how things that you can do in different approaches. So that's the book. I highly recommend it. It gives you all of the information as well as walking you through the steps of meditation. And it's brilliant, I think. So let's get into my practice, what I do literally every morning right after I wake up. I do this. And I break it down into 4 different sections, and I'll go through them very quickly here, and then we'll get into the detail of all of them. So the first section I do, just so you kind of have a rough idea, is that I just do 3 simple breaths, in and out, deep breaths. And I just use that to kind of get me focused here, wherever I'm sitting doing the meditation. The second section is the induction, which I've mentioned before, and that's just simply taking us down from being in our conscious mind down into that subconscious area of things, into the meditative state, the self-hypnotic state. And what you're doing there is, again, you're getting away from the conscious thoughts, okay? And then the third section that we get into, and this is the meat and potatoes of everything, this is actually where you focus on the belief that you want to begin creating within your life. It's usually the opposite of whatever limiting belief that you have. So this is where we get into that, and this is kind of like the fun part of it. And then the final part is just simply where you come back out of the meditative state, and it's just a simple count up from 1 to 5 until you get up and fully conscious and awake and in a non-suggestible state. So we're going to do 3 breaths to kind of focus ourselves, an induction to get down into the subconscious, and then the actual section where we focus on the belief that we want, and then finally coming back out of that. But before we get into the details of all of those, let me cover 2 really quick things, kind of like overarching things within everything. And the first thing is the idea that this is a practice that you're about to start. And the reason why it's practice, and if you think of it in terms of that, you're not going to get angry with yourself when you do a meditation and the induction doesn't work, or I couldn't feel it, or whatever else it is. As Dr. Joe says, every meditation is good. There is never a bad meditation. Because in doing it, you're practicing getting down in, you're focusing on yourself, and you're telling yourself that you care about who you are and what you want to focus on in your life. You want to create the life that you want. And in starting this practice, that's exactly the choice that you're making. And I'm proud of you for doing it, because I did it and I'm glad I did it. So remember that. It's a practice. And if you remember also within the practice idea of it, give yourself the time. You're going to practice for maybe the rest of your life, which would be a good thing. You're probably going to want to do that also once you get into this a little bit, because it's fun and you can see the results and you want more results. So again, going back to the whole thing where if I have a bad induction or if I have a bad meditation or something is bothering me, it doesn't matter. You're going to get better the next time, or 3 days from now. Or if you didn't quite feel it all the way, in a week, it's going to be okay. And over the course of 6 months, let's say, you're going to be a superstar at it. So never let anything stop you. This is a practice. It can be fun, and it is fun, and it'll be frustrating at times, but understanding that it's a practice that you're going to have fun at and go at for a while. You remove the pressure for performing perfectly every time you do it, and especially in the beginning. Give yourself a break, love yourself, and practice this and have fun. So the next thing is, in this overarching kind of thing, is you basically have 2 choices about what kind of meditation that you want to do. The first is a guided meditation where you're listening to someone else walk you through the steps, or you can do an open-ended one, as I call it, which is you're just either in silence or you're playing some background music here, and you just walk yourself through the meditation. Now, it was interesting because this whole week, normally I do a guided meditation, and I happen to do one of the Dr. Joe ones. But I've done that for 2-3 years now, the same one for a good solid 2 years. And I never liked guided meditations to begin with, and I'll be honest with you. I like to be able to control it. I like to be able to kind of like see what happens and all of that. But in the end, this week, so I went back to that this week. I got off the guided meditation. I went to do just free form. I have a great soundtrack that I listen to. And I found myself really drifting Okay, and so what I was going to do originally was present to you all that you have the choice of which one to do. But after my experience with this, I'm going to actually recommend, and again, the choice is up to you what you want to do. This is your path. You get to decide what works best for you. But I would suggest, especially in the beginning, that you do a guided meditation because it does a couple of things. It keeps you, and the biggest thing probably is it keeps you focused on moving through the different sections of the meditation, and you can better guide yourself through that. And the other thing that it does is it can create a nice time limit for you. So if you want to have a nice hour-long or hour and 30-minute meditation, you find a meditation, a guided one, that fits that time frame. Or if you want like a 10-minute or 15-minute, you find that. Now you can find a lot of guided meditations on YouTube. I've done that. You can pretty much look for whatever time period you want or time length. So that is available for you. Certainly Dr. Joe has a lot of videos or a lot of meditations that you can purchase for him, which I think I've gotten all of them and I really enjoy them. And you'll find yourself finding the ones that you like along the way. But as I also mentioned before, you can also, which is brilliant, create your own meditation. And you can guide yourself hitting the places that you want for the exact length that you want. But in the end, I would suggest the guided meditation. And if you do a guided meditation for a long period of time, which is what I've done with the one Dr. Joe meditation that I do, I learned this trick kind of that what ends up happening is as I'm listening to it and he guides us through each of the different sections, I've gotten to the point now where I don't even listen to his words. I just use the timed portion of it as inspiration to do what I want to do. So if I was moving forward, I would suggest doing the guided meditation for you. It will keep you focused because in the end, this is a practice. And in a way, what you're doing here is kind of like any occupation, if you want to look at it that way. Think of yourself as a welder. A welder simply shows up for work every day and does his job. And your job now is to change your beliefs using meditation. Because once you clear all of those crap beliefs and you install the real ones, that's when your life starts. That's when your life becomes what you want it to be. So you've got the opportunity now to just simply be a nice worker and get the things that you want through going through this process. So anyways, on to my steps. So the first section is 3 deep breaths. And you can already kind of figure out probably it's just, and I said it before, what this is just to get yourself kind of like centered and that you're sitting here and you're ready to go for meditation. But I find that this also is actually a way to kind of get you inside of things also. And it's that feeling part again. And we're going to work this into all of the sections. And what it is, the breath that you could try is just simply you go with your eyes closed. 1, I'm breathing in a long breath. 1, I'm breathing out a long breath. 2, I'm breathing in a long breath. 2, I'm breathing out a long breath. And finally, 3, I'm breathing in a long breath and out a long breath. And the key here, the kind of like trick that I learned at one point is the whole long breath thing. Because what you're doing in that moment is you're feeling your breath and you're looking at the quality of it. And you could just as easily go, I'm breathing in a short breath or a medium breath. But the long breath is really nice and it takes you nice time to do it, but you're feeling there. And again, we're prepping ourselves to get away from and underneath that conscious mind that we've got. Break from the thinking and you get into the feeling, remember, because that's what the subconscious is. So here you feel the breath in and out, in and out, in and out. Now, I told you that I would tell you my process, and now that breath I used to use, and it was fantastic. But what I've started to do recently is my wife read a book, and she told me that, oh, wow, we all have 2 guides, And I kind of like that idea. I've never really thought about it too much, but I kind of like it. Somebody's there helping you out. And so what I started doing, and this was kind of in conjunction with, lately I've been working on love in my life. And so what I do now is I just send love to my guides. And again, what am I doing? I'm feeling that. So I take a breath in, and then on the breath out, I send love to my guides. Same thing with the second breath and the third breath. You breathe in and send love to the guides. And what am I doing again there is I'm feeling. I feel that love going to them. And you could just as easily, you can pick, your guardian angels, God, the universe, all that is, or, your mother, your father, your sister, your wife, whatever. But that process of sending love gets you feeling that love. And again, that's the best place that you can be. So either of the breaths, try either one of those. And again, it's just a quick way to get us centered any way you want. Again, this is your practice that you get to choose. Now on to the second section, which is the induction. So the second section is the induction. And the induction is just simply kind of getting you down deeper into relaxation or the meditative state or hypnotic state, whatever you want to call it. You're basically getting really into the subconscious, so you're kind of like settled there to begin the process of focusing on the beliefs that you want. You're getting underneath, kind of like letting go that conscious mind. So what this is it's just a process of taking you down. And as I mentioned in, I think, the last video about hypnosis and self-hypnosis, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And you can do it by, imagining yourself going down steps, 10 steps down. And with each successive step, you go lower and deeper into the hypnotic state, into the meditative state, into relaxation, however you want to take a look at it. There's going down there. I'd mentioned before also you can, focus on body parts, but I'm going to link to an article down below, and it has 13 different induction techniques. The first two of those, actually, it was funny because I think I recognized them from Charles Tebbett's book that I mentioned last week on self-hypnosis. And that's also another great resource because it goes through a number of different induction techniques there. So if you would like to get that book, that will also have some. But in this article, they have a lot of different techniques, and some of them aren't as exciting for me, but that's just the point. Induction is all about you, and you get to find which one you like the best. And again, that kind of gets back into the whole thing that I said before about this being a practice. And so don't get too crazy if it doesn't work or whatever. You're going to find one that works best for you. And it'll be no problem, don't worry. And then the other thing too is when I do my guided meditation, when I do the Dr. Joe one, like I think I mentioned before, is a lot of times I just let that go and I don't listen, I don't follow what he says to do. And you don't have to do it for any guided meditation that you can get, that you do get. You can follow your own induction technique. And this is part of the play of kind of like doing this and testing this out over a long period of time. You're going to get to find the one that works for you. But the one that works for me is kind of interesting. So I found it in another of Charles Tebbett's book. I mentioned this one before also, the Miracles on Demand. And in it, he goes into the hypnosis techniques of Gil Boynes, who is a very famous hypnotherapist back in the 70s and 80s. And this guy was good. But in there, it was funny because what I found is once you go through the induction technique, once you go through induction, that gets you, down into the subconscious. You can also choose to do what's called the deepening technique or deepening process, where it gets you even deeper into the process. And all I did was I stole that one, the deepening process, and I just use that as my induction process now. And it's just very simple. You count down from 5 to 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And in between each one, you sit there and you kind of just tell yourself, okay, I'm going deeper into the meditative state. So it would be like 5, I'm going deep down into the meditative state. 4, deeper still, I can feel it. And here you can start using things like, I feel the calmness, right? You can feel the calmness, the peace. You can feel floating. You can feel weightlessness. You can feel yourself deepening down. But the key is to go the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But now here was the interesting thing this is why I used the deepening process, because then I just start back again at 5 and count down to 1. Now usually I go through a cycle of 3 of these: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Although I've done it as many as 6 or 7 times if I was, not feeling it too well. Because again, this thing is all a process of play. But it works really well for me because I can just feel myself go down to a certain level, and then I keep going to another level, and then I keep going down yet even again. And that has really helped my meditation sessions. Because before, when I would go through a simple induction, I would end up, kind of still be semi-conscious, which is still fine. Every meditation is fine. But when I used that technique of dropping myself deeper and deeper, it really solidified myself down into the subconscious. And that's where I could really get going pretty well. Okay, now on to the next section. So the third section here is like the main one. This is what we came here to do. This is why we're meditating. We want to focus on the belief that we want to create for ourselves, that we want to focus on inside to get rid of that limiting belief that we have. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break this into kind of 2 sections. Okay, the first section is going to be just the basic core of how you do that. And this would be if you only have like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. It's just an easy way that we're going to focus on the core of what I do specifically. And then we're going to get into, like, for right now, I do an hour, 15 minutes a day, usually. Sometimes I'll do more. I've done up to 4 hours a day when I was really working on something hard to get rid of it. But this first one is, let's say you've got 10 minutes to do it. So you'll do your 3 breaths, you'll do your induction, and now you're down and ready to go. So let's take a simple belief, right, that we want to create or we want to focus on, that I believe in myself, right? So let's say you've got a limiting belief that maybe something like I suck, or I can't do anything right, or I'm lame, or whatever it happens to be. You pick that opposite belief. In this case, we're going to take I believe in myself, okay? And that's what we're going to focus on. Now, the key to this, and I've mentioned it in some of the other videos, is, and really you understand this, everybody talks about this, is you want to feel what it feels like. You want to feel as if you already believe in yourself. You want to feel specific moments, specific times, and you kind of, in a way, it's almost like you bathe in that feeling, and that becomes the new focus of yourself. And that's the outcome that we want. We want to feel it so much that it is now a part of our being. And through repeating this process in the meditations throughout a period of time, we then kind of unwire that former limited belief, and we rewire this one into who we really are. Okay? So let's look at the belief of I believe in myself. Now, the easiest way for me to explain this, because I have a good friend who she always asks me, well, how does that feel? How does that feel? The easiest way I can mention it and how I've approached it is that if I'm going for something like I want to believe in myself, the best thing I can do is to focus on a specific thing that right now I currently believe I can do. And that could be as fun as making a good omelet. I make a damn good omelet, right? Or I can paint trim on a house, or whatever it happens to be, or something that you did yesterday that you did really well. Because what you're doing is, if in the meditation you go to that point and you feel yourself making that omelet, and you sit there and you go, oh, I'm pretty good at that. Maybe I suck at the rest of my life, but that omelet, oh man, I made a good one yesterday, right? You focus on that feeling. You focus on, in this case, I believe in myself. Oh my, it was fantastic. It was not only fantastic, it was amazing. I believe in myself. I could tomorrow do another omelet. I could do one right now. And you're not necessarily focusing on those exact thoughts in the meditation, although you can. The thing is, it's by any means necessary to feel yourself in that moment believing absolutely, completely, and utterly in yourself. And you start with that. And you feel that feeling. You feel that building inside of you. And then what you do is you then kind of go to what you want to feel in the future, right? So let's say at work, I want to believe in myself at work, or at something that you want to get good at, right? A sport or art or something like that. And you suddenly start feeling yourself in that situation with that same feeling of, no, I can. And what you'll end up finding is you'll end up finding that there are other times where you have felt that God, I believe in myself. But in those situations in the past, we've talked ourselves out of it. But now when you start feeling this in general, you're going to start being able to remember those times where you felt it even in your life as it exists now. And you start building up each of those moments, each of those specific times where you can feel it. You know what? I did actually believe in myself. You know what? I actually did. I do believe in myself. I can do this thing that I want. I can hit a home run. I can sit there and I can make a 5-course meal. I can kick butt at work and I can get this project done. I can do the painting that I want to do. I can write the story that I want to write. I can tell the things I want to tell. And one by one, you start stringing each one of these together. You start feeling them almost as if you're kind of like ringing little bells, right, along the way, and you feel each one specifically. You could feel yourself making that initial omelet, let's say. You can feel yourself at work. Actually, I can feel this. I do believe in myself. I am pretty amazing, right? And you begin feeling each and every one of those. And suddenly they start coming together and it's like they become one. Kind of almost as if I keep using a bell analogy throughout a lot of things that I talk about here. And it's almost as if the feeling of, I believe in myself, what you get to when you get into meditation like this and when it's working really great, it's as if you ring the bell, I believe in myself. And the thing about a bell, it's not just a single simple tone. A bell rings out with harmonics and richness, and there's so many tones in there that go together and sound wonderful. The same equivalent is when you are doing this and feeling that belief that you're working on. You feel the richness, you feel the totality of all of those beliefs coming together, that I can make an omelet, I can be great at work, I can hit that home run, whatever it happens to be. And that's the end point that you want. That's the feeling that you want to feel when you're down in that meditative state. Because at that point, what you're doing is, again, you're down below the conscious mind, you're in the subconscious, and you're starting to lay the groundwork. You're feeling all of those together at one time. And let me tell you, it feels great. And I know you felt it before, right? All we're doing is the same thing, but in meditation, down in the subconscious area. You're establishing these new beliefs, and in a way, you're winding together separate beliefs they're kind of like associated beliefs. I can make the omelet. I can be great at work. I believe in myself over here, so that they become a strengthening and they reinforce each other, and you begin feeling it, like I say, as a totality. I believe in myself. And you sit there within that feeling. And you feel it, and you go forward, and you just kind of play with it within the meditation. And so that's what, first of all, I would recommend. So if you've only got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, you do that. You start launching off these feelings, these positive feelings. You start feeling them all working together and becoming as one. And then in the end, like one giant bell that you can ring, that is, I believe in myself. And I promise you, you will feel it. And again, what are you doing there? You're firing and wiring all of that thought, all of those thoughts, that circuitry in your brain. You're strengthening those. You're binding them all together. You keep repeating it and repeating it each time you do this. And that will become the dominant feeling inside of you around this idea of, I believe in myself. So that kind of in a nutshell is what I do. Now, I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, let me know in the comments and I'll clarify anything you want. And again, each one of us will feel things differently, but that is my best way of saying how you can approach that here. This is what I at least do when I'm establishing this new belief. Primarily, it's the feeling. And the other level of it is if you can do a more intense feeling of that, that generally will wire things even faster. Not fake intensity, but the more you can feel it and really feel the joy and the love and the excitement within these things, that's going to serve you much better also. So that's the shorter version. Now let's get into the longer version. Oh my God. Okay, but it's getting better. This is really good. And we're going to build using this same technique here. So on to the next kind of part of this if you want to do a longer meditation the way I do it currently. This next section is where you basically just take what we talked about, which is focusing on that belief that you want to create and feeling it to the core of your being. You take that and you repeat it many times within the meditation. And where I first saw this process, this kind of system, was in one of Dr. Joe's meditations. And actually, he has a series of them called Blessing of the Energy Centers. And inside of that, what he does is he just simply brings your focus to every one of the energy centers in our bodies, or the chakras, as a lot of people call them that way. And what you do is you just simply, in each of those chakras, okay, you've got your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your sixth and your seventh chakra. Each one of those, you start the process over again. And you go, in that case, let's say if I'm focusing on my third chakra, which is my solar plexus here, you just sit there and you focus on it and you start feeling that belief there. And you feel it forming up, and you feel, like I said before, that you feel yourself making the omelet, and whatever it happens to be that you use to feel that feeling, to feel the feeling as if you've already achieved it and you believe in yourself completely. And you focus that each of those times in the 7 chakras here. And he'll get into the 8th chakra and all of this stuff. But the beauty of this is that you not only focus on it once, you're focusing on it multiple times. You're kind of giving, each time you focus on a chakra with this belief, to kind of like establish that belief within that particular chakra, you're also kind of, in a way, focusing it on yourself in general also. So instead of just going at it one time, you're going at it 7 times or 8 times or however many times you want. It gives you the focus to be able to keep reestablishing that in each area. Now, the one thing when Joe talks about it too, and the Seth material talks about this, is that really everything in the world is conscious. So if you think about it, all of the cells in your body are conscious. And the Seth material talks about that even all of our cells, they just want to be who they are in a way. That's what consciousness is. They want to continue itself, to be the best self that it can be. So when you focus on this belief, on a particular chakra, you can also feel yourself. One of the things you can do is you can feel yourself, all the cells of your body in that area. You can focus on the organs and the nerves and everything else like that, all believing this belief that you want, which is, I believe in myself. So not only you've got all the cells of your being, everything is focused on believing that I believe in myself. And everything supports each other. And that's what this process is about, is getting in there to those levels and also focusing multiple times in one meditation session to be able to do that. And it gives you every opportunity at every section of those, and you can kind of play with one and do it one way, and you get up to the fourth chakra and you play with it a little bit different way. And that really has been fantastic for me, because especially when I'm in a guided meditation, like I mentioned in the very beginning of all of this, with the guided meditation, it gives me a structure to be able to follow, to continue to just hammer home the particular belief that I want. And in this case, I get to hit it 7 times through all the 7 chakras. And we have an 8th chakra up there too. So you can do it the 8 times. And then one of the beautiful things is you can also do it coming back down on the chakras. So, but this is just a system for you to be able to focus multiple times on that one belief. It's just a way to kind of extend things out, but in a way, it's also a way to, again, weave together. As I said before, you're weaving together all the separate beliefs, kind of associated beliefs, into one big belief that I believe in myself. You're also weaving that together for all the portions of your body, and you start bringing that together. So in a way, it's almost like creating a symphony, that instead of just one simple single tone, you're going into a symphony. You're arranging everything. You're weaving it together to where it becomes this really potent, wonderful feeling in you. And that, I have found, has been incredibly helpful and incredibly powerful to do that. Again, you can do a short meditation of 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that is fantastic to do. But if you have the chance to go longer, this is one kind of a process that you could find to do that. Now, if you were to go to Dr. Joe's site, he has a number of different Blessing of the Energy Centers guided meditations there. I would recommend trying one or a couple of those. The first one is great. It's a good introduction. The second one I really love. And then there are a lot of others in there. But try it. But again, I think you can kind of get the idea of why this can be so powerful, because you're focusing in those different areas. You're also reestablishing that many different times within your meditation for yourself. These are all just meant to be able to strengthen that belief. Again, what are we doing? We're getting into that subconscious. We're establishing this as the new belief of how I am now, instead of that limited belief. And in this way, you start unwinding that limited belief by not even looking at it, because all you're focused on is the new one that you're creating. And that is very powerful to be able to do that, incredibly powerful. And that is the core of all of this, and it's the secret of it, is just establishing that new belief deep inside of you that you can feel deeply, deeply. And that's when it becomes in the rest of your life. It establishes itself there and reflects back out into your physical life. So that's the process. We'll get into the last little bit here, but that's the core that you want to follow, is that feeling. It's the main core feeling that you want of that has already happened to you. It's the way you are. It's who you are. Now, on to the last one, because we got to get out of this thing. We got to get out of the meditation. Okay, so the fourth and final section is just simply coming back out of the meditative state, the hypnotic state, if you will. And again, what we're doing is we're just coming back up to consciousness. We have been in our subconscious, in that whole feeling area, and we want to just come back up to consciousness. And it's a real simple process. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're counting back up to consciousness. And with each one, you kind of go like, 1, now I'm going back up to consciousness. 2, I'm becoming fully awake, all of these kind of things. And you just, in between each number, you just kind of say those things until you finally get up to 5. I'm fully awake, fully conscious, and in a non-suggestible state. And that's it. But let me add this too, because I found this recently for myself. And again, this is how I do it specifically. So as I'm doing this, what I found is that as I'm counting back up from 1 to 2, and I'm coming up into consciousness, I kind of run a parallel thing. So what I do is I say, okay, 1, coming back up to consciousness, but yet I go back to that feeling that I just generated of that new belief. I believe in myself. And what I do is I say I'm coming up to consciousness, but yet I reinforce this feeling within me. So at the same time I'm counting up and saying I'm coming up into consciousness, I'm also reaffirming this and going like, I believe in myself. 2, this is who I am. 3, this is who I always have been. And as I come up to consciousness, I will maintain this feeling because this is who I am now. So you're running this parallel thing, right? You're coming up to consciousness, but you're not letting go of the other thing. In a way, it's like you're ringing that bell loud and clear that in consciousness, I hold on to this thing that I just established, this belief and this feeling and this new me, this new portion of me. So in that way, I count up, and it works great. So I would say try it. So as you come back up, you keep reestablishing and feeling that so that you can feel yourself in full consciousness as this belief. In this case, I believe in myself. And that's it. You're up and you're out and you're done. You can go about your day. Now, the big thing I want to stress about all this is I'm kind of going to go back to the beginning, which is simply that this is a practice. And you're going to repeat it. And so take your time. If you make a mistake, it's not a mistake. If you have a problem, it's not a problem. If it is really horrifically bad, it is not. It is fantastic. You just keep this up. Don't worry about it. Do it with joy. Do it with playfulness. Do it with a sense of creativity and trying things. Experiment with stuff. Like I say, you can go along with a guided meditation from anybody, and then in the middle of it, you can go off on your own if you want, okay? But the thing that I want to stress, though, is again, going back to the beginning, you are now a welder, okay? You are now a plumber. You are now whatever it is that you want to keep in mind, because you have an end point that you want, and that is to change this specific belief. And not only that, it's to change all of your limiting beliefs. And when you begin doing that, you're going to feel such power inside of you. You're going to feel these limiting beliefs start to ratchet themselves down. Some days you're going to find something happened with me just recently where I just made these huge mistakes in accounting for a corporation. And it was funny. I told my wife afterwards, I says, man, normally I would just beat the hell out of myself for that, right? Because you were stupid, you missed this, you didn't do that, whatever. And it was nothing to me. And I sat there and I go, my God, it really is working. I mean, I know it's working, but it was yet again another instance where I have changed myself fundamentally inside. And I've changed myself to a hell of a lot better person and a lot better life that I love and enjoy living now. But it's because I took this seriously. It's because I took the time. I did it every day practically, rain or shine, or even when I didn't want to do it. And there were some days that I didn't. And there was a period where I did it for 7 months in the beginning of the past 3 years. And then I stopped for 4 months. But then I reestablished it in January of that next year. And I says, I'm going to keep doing it. And I have. Solid for the past 2 years. This is a practice, but it's a plumbing job. It's a welding job. You got to show up and you got to do it, because in the end, you're building something and you're building a better you, and only you can do it. This is your path. You get to choose however you want to do it, and you can absolutely do it. You can create the life that you want. I know it because I'm in the process of doing it. But you have to do it every day, no matter what, in a wonderful, playful way. And you will be able to create the life that you want. Love you.